Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, and I'm joined by my co-host, Christy. Christy, how are you today?
Hi, Lake. I'm well. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. You had a pretty exciting morning.
I did. I've given my money to run Disney again. So much money, Lake. So much money.
I did not give my money to run Disney this morning.
I know. It's crazy. And yet you got me the link so that I could register.
It is true. I still went through the process of going into the queue, and I got the good time this time. So,
for which I am grateful for. And you know, our listener, Liz, who we've talked about before, she's done a show with us. She's in the Patreon. She and her husband registered this time and they got in immediately. Like, they were one of those elusive people who just like clicked enter and entered.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it
someone
existed.
else got like 2 minutes, and I was like, wow, good for them.
Yeah, no, I was very happy. And then you shared so I could register for myself. And this isn't a Run Disney show, listeners, so don't you worry. But I did yoga for the first time. And then I did the regular running events. But Disney put it in like 2 different spaces in my registration. So even though I registered myself, it's still in that like secret, you have an extra registration bit for yourself. I registered myself. Like, what even happened? So anyway, I wrote them. We'll see what happens.
Well, let's go ahead and turn towards sailing.
So boring.
Oh, yes. How dare we talk about cruising on the cruising podcast? But Christy, we were talking about the beloved ship.
My favorite ship, the Disney Fantasy.
Yeah.
All right, look at you turned it right around.
Fantasy. But to discuss our sailing today, we'd like to welcome our guest, Adam, to the show. Adam, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for filling out the Be a Part of the Show request. We are very excited to talk all things Disney Fantasy. Why don't you begin with what sailing you booked and who sailed with you?
Yeah, we booked a 5-night Bahamas sailing on the Disney Fantasy. It just worked out with our timing. It was a spring break trip, and we wanted to take advantage of the Castaway and Lookout Keys ports, and so that was really fun. And we had sailed back in 2019 with a slightly bigger group, and our girls were much younger than 5 and 2. So the 2-year-old wasn't able to like do as much. So we really wanted to take advantage this time and have a good trip.
Awesome. Well, before we even get to Port Canaveral, what things did you pre-book for your sailing?
We pre-booked Bibbidi-Bobbidi Boutique. We've gone to Disney several times over the last couple of years, and the girls have always been interested in Bibbidi-Bobbidi Boutique, but we've been disinterested at the park. And so since we were doing the sailing, we really wanted to do that. And because our youngest wasn't able to do the Royal Court Royal Tea, that was like number 1 on the list for the pre-booking was the Royal Court Royal Tea, and we were able to do that on the at sea day. And we tried to get the Royal Gathering, but I don't know, we were in some like Facebook groups about the cruise and everything, and other people said there was like a glitch or something. Typically, when we do this kind of stuff, we're able to like navigate the Disney processes, get kind of what we want, but we weren't able to do that pre-booking. So that was, a little frustrating, but I'll come back to that later when we get to the embarkation.
Let's just stop for 1 minute and differentiate for the listeners the Royal Tea versus the Royal Gathering. The Royal is the paid for event for children. I believe it's 12 and under, and it's a ticket event. And it costs a good amount of money, and they get items as like trinkets, if you will, memorabilia from the tea. And it's like an actual tea with trays of sandwiches and desserts. And then the Royal Court is the event that you book. Oh, and the Royal Tea you book with your regular activities booking date. The Royal Court is where there's about 5 princesses lined up in the Grand Hall atrium, and you're basically getting yourself a ticket for free to go and meet whoever has a ticket, these 5 princesses all at one time. So you dress up if you want, and you get to get your picture taken and talk to princesses. That does not cost money, and that is available to book 30 days before the cruise for everybody, all at the same time.
Yes, well, and don't forget the show with the royalty. Like there's a little bit of a show. They sing and tell stories, and like it was really, really fun.
Awesome. Let's turn towards getting to Florida. Did you do any pre-stay?
We did, actually. So yeah, it was spring break. The girls were out of school the Friday before. The cruise departed on the Sunday. So we flew down to Orlando on the Friday before. That's the 28th of March. Stayed All-Star Music. We wanted to take advantage of like the Disney transport from the resort to the Port Canaveral. And then on Saturday, we went to Magic Kingdom. So we, rope dropped, had a great time, did our thing until we couldn't do it anymore, and had a great time at Magic Kingdom. It was the first time we'd done the Peter Pan since they refurbed the Peter Pan experience, and the queue was amazing. Like the shadow play as you're walking through was just really fun. And we all had a blast with that when we kind of rope dropped that and got in, and had a good time just in the queue at Peter Pan. It was really fun.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned you used Disney transportation to get to the port. What did you think of that process, and how did that go for you?
It was great. We're planners, and so we were wanting to get that information. When do we need to be ready and all that kind of stuff. We weren't, because we were staying at All-Star Music. We did take advantage of the like 7 a.m. bag pickup, because we wanted to like have our time and get ready and not have our door opened at like 7 a.m. But so we took our bags with us. Like the bus was there when it was time. The cruise employee in the lobby was great. We had a nice breakfast before we got on. The one thing that wasn't great was that air didn't work on the bus. And so it got a little toasty there as we were getting the first, like 20, 30 minutes weren't bad, but those like last 15 minutes on the way to Port Canaveral, it got a little toasty in there, but it was great. Like I would totally do it again. You get to the port, you go in, Disney handles your bags. There was a separate like security screening that we went through, so we didn't have to like get in line with people that were doing the rentals or just getting to the port, and then went straight on, checked in, and we were on the ship by like noon. I think we were picked up at like 9:45, maybe 10 o'clock at All-Star Music, and we were on the boat at noon.
You have young girls, and it's pretty exciting to board a new cruise ship. So what was that like?
Oh man, yeah, it was exciting. You have to like, as the adult and the guardian, you have to like do some stuff with the Disney folks in the terminal. And so we had to tell them like, we're almost there. Just wait like a little bit longer. I know it's really hard. Like they could see the gangway, they could see the ears that you walk through, and they were just really antsy. But it was so nice. We took advantage of the first photo op. We did the like photo pass, and so we held the sign, and we were all in our matching shirts and everything. The first kind of Disney thing. Even before that, like they got excited when we like turned that corner on the bus and you see the ship, and we were like, look, there it is. We talked with them. We did the like little workbook that Disney has that you can download and color and all that kind of stuff. It's still like, we talked to them about the ship the whole time. We were like, it's huge, like you're gonna love it. Was just unmatched. Like when we actually saw it, they were like, wow, that thing is huge. Like, I can't wait to get on. And so it was super exciting. Like check-in was easy. We had our passports and all the documentation we needed, and the staff was great. The next thing we knew, they were saying, the Disney Fantasy would like to welcome the King family aboard, and then it was on after that.
So you enter the Fantasy, first time aboard. Where does your family head first?
Well, because we couldn't get the Royal Gathering, I headed straight to the service desk right there in the atrium, and we got on the wait list for the Royal Gathering, and they took our name, stateroom and all that kind of stuff, and they said, you're on the list. If we get a spot, we'll let you know. You'll see it in the Navigator app. And I think it was, maybe that would have been Sunday. Yeah, the next day we got a notification that we had, been reserved a spot for the Royal Gathering. So that was totally worth 5 minutes. I had to wait and talk to the cast members at the desk and get on that wait list. We also got on the wait list for a cabana, Castaway Cay. We hadn't done that, but we were kind of on the fence. And so, yeah, we got on the wait list for that. It didn't work out. Disney kind of fumbled that a little bit. They were, supposed to either call our room or give us a notification in the app. And they called the room, but didn't leave a message or anything. And so we just had this like random missed call. And so like later that day, I went back and talked to the front desk and they were like, yeah, that was our team. I guess unfortunately it had gotten reserved they just went down the wait list. And so that was a little disappointing.
So you would have been able to get a cabana if you had been in your cabin when they called? That's shocking. That's amazing.
Right. And it was like when we went to check in and like talk to the folks, there was a sign, spring break, it's real busy. There was a sign that there were no room upgrades available. So we thought, we were like, there's no way we're going to be able to, get a cabana. So, I think we would have done it, but yeah, it was a little disappointing that it wasn't able to work out because we didn't get a message in the app either. So that was a little frustrating. But after that, we went straight to the Oceaneer Club. The girls were super pumped about that. We wanted to we did the pre-registration, to register them, but you still have to go there and like check in and give them your secret word and all that kind of stuff. And because we did the Disney transport and we kind of like walked straight on, like there was like hardly anyone in there. So we walked in, like explored. If you're familiar with it, they got like the kind of light up dance floor, like right as you go in. They got the Marvel kind of sanctum off to the left, and then Pixie Hollow, Star Wars, and Andy's room, right? And so we're in there, we're looking around, the girls are super excited. And I turn around and look at the Marvel area and Thor's standing there. No one's around. And so I was like, come on, girls, like we're going to meet Thor right now. And my oldest, Amelia, she wanted to hold his hammer. And we've been introducing him to the Marvel universe, but they hadn't seen it yet. And so he goes, are you worthy? And she said, I guess. So that was a really cute like meet and greet.
That's actually a good tip. When I was on the Fantasy in March, I ate lunch first, but then I went to the kids club to like walk around and look around, and there was a Marvel character there as well.
It was great. Like I said, like there was nobody in there. The girls got to do they had those like Star Wars, spaceship flying kind of games. And so there were like no other kids like waiting. So they got to play that for probably like 15 minutes with nobody like standing over their shoulder and waiting for a turn or anything. So that was great. And then after that, we went up to Cabanas for lunch and had a nice lunch. And I think there was a dessert that was really good. Gosh, I wish I could remember it. It was like an apple tart or something. It was delicious. It was delicious. I'm a sucker for a good dessert, especially on vacation.
Let's turn towards your stateroom. What stateroom or staterooms did you have booked, and how did that work for your family?
It worked great. I can't remember the class. We were on the 6th deck, midship. Both of our daughters can get a little bit nauseous and seasick, and so we were a little nervous about that. So we worked with our travel agent and she recommended, a midship room. And we did, the deluxe with the veranda. And so it was great. Like I said, we talked with the girls a lot about the ship and what to expect. But walking in, they were like, well, this isn't like what we thought it was going to be. You talked about like the beds and the bed coming down the scene. I was like, just give them time. Like, the Disney people, they're going to work their magic. And we met our stateroom host, Calcia, who was just wonderful. And like I said, the girls were a little nervous about how small it was and what it was going to look like when it was time for bed and everything. And I convinced them, like, just wait. Like, the Disney cast members, they're going to work their magic. We'll go to dinner. We'll have a good time and we'll come back and it'll be like transformed. And it sure was. When I talked to my youngest, Eleanor, and I was like, what should I talk about on this like podcast with the folks? And she was like, the bed that came down out of the ceiling and my stars that were up there. And like the stateroom hosts and the cast members were just fantastic. They gave them the princess sheet, which I didn't even know was a thing. And so like that just blew their minds. They were like, they're not even regular sheets.
Disney's so great. I love that. How did you guys divide up then the bunk bed? Because it sounds like your youngest slept up there.
Thankfully, they're their own different spirits. And our oldest felt like the bottom one was bigger. And she's also a little bit more risk averse. So she didn't want to climb up there. She
That's
also
perfect.
liked having the little light that's on the wall next to the bed that's on the bottom. And so she could sit there and read she could kind of decompress at the end of the night and just kind of chill and read a little book before she drifted off.
That's perfect.
The room was great.
What else did you get up to that first day before dinner? Anything besides the muster drill?
We did the muster drill. That was, again, we talked with the girls a lot about we're going to have to do this thing in the middle of all this fun. We're going to have to like do this thing where we're, making sure everybody's safe and we know what to do. And we got through that. We did the sail away party, got some ice cream. Had our first ice cream of many and did the sail away party, which was so fun. And at the end of the sail away party, they just start playing some like dance music. And my girls have been into Zombies and Descendants recently. And they started playing some of those songs and like they just lost their minds and we danced and had a really good time. We were like, Disney must have known that y'all were going to be here and y'all wanted to hear Zombies and Descendants. We howled at the moon with the call, what is it? The Call to the Wild is the song from Zombies. And, the girls just loved it. And so we had a good time. And then, after that, we went and got ready for our first rotational dining, Enchanted Garden, which I was looking forward to a lot. The food, because in that first cruise, like I said, it was just very different, and our girls were younger, and because of how it was booked, we had the like late dining, and so our girls were much younger, and so we just didn't even go that time to any of the rotational dining. So I was really looking forward to the rotational dining.
Well, let's go ahead and work our way around the ship and work our way through what y'all did. Let's go ahead and just start with general entertainment. What did you and your family do while on board to fill your time aboard the Fantasy?
We did so much, true to Disney fashion, whether you're at the parks or on an island or on the boat, like you just can't do it all. And so you have to pick. And we definitely took advantage of, we love theater and we love shows, and Disney puts on great shows. And so we knew we wanted to go to all of the entertainment shows. On the Fantasy, it was Aladdin. Actually, the first night we got to see the new Snow White that had come out like a week before. And so that was really fun. When we sailed in 2019, Toy Story 4 had just come out. And so like I remembered that like being really fun, like seeing like a new Disney movie on the ship. And so we got to kind of do that all over again, but this time with Snow White. So that was really exciting. And then the next night it was Aladdin, and then Frozen, and then Believe. One of the captains was introducing the entertainers and actors for Aladdin. He said, we've got a nice surprise with this one. One of our actors has performed in the show on Broadway. And so like the whole time, my wife and I and my daughter, my oldest, Amelia, is into theater, and she had just been in a production of Beauty and the Beast here where we live. And so she was pumped about that. So like the whole time we were like, who do we think it might be? And then as the show went on, we were like, well, obviously it's Jafar. And so at the end, we're walking out and they have, some cast members and the captain happened to be there as we were walking out. And we asked him and he was like, it was Jafar. So we felt like we like nailed that one.
That's awesome.
It was really fun. And he did a phenomenal job. He also played the role of the dad in Believe. And so that was really, really good also. So we did the shows. Our girls love a good mystery. And so we definitely took advantage of the Midship Detective Agency. And I think, which was great because we also love pictures and we love interacting with the characters in the meet and greets. And so they're at an age now, also they're on a ship, like where are they going to go? So while we were waiting for some of our meet and greets, they'd run off and go like knock off one of their lists on the Midship Detective Agency.
Oh, that's a good
And so
idea.
it was great. It was great. Yeah, we've been trying to, facilitate some more like trust and independence in our 10-year-old. And so we were like, all right, you go do this, you know where it is, and then come right back. So they had a good time. They got to feel like they were doing something on their own, just the two of them. And it was really cute to see them kind of get to the end and solve the mystery. I loved walking around, and I stumbled upon Pepe the Prawn's room on deck 5. And so like I thought that was really cool. So we definitely did the shows. We weren't able to, my wife really wanted to do the trivia, and we weren't able to like fit that in just because there's so much to do. But she did go do bingo. And she had a lot of fun doing that. She said that the cast was really great. While they're picking the numbers and the letters and all that kind of stuff, they're, giving some trivia or singing a game, singing a song or something. And so she loved bingo. Like she wanted to do that again. Like I think she would have done that every day if they had it. Other than that, like entertainment wise, like we enjoyed the pools. My youngest is a bit of a thrill seeker, and so she was really pumped about riding the aqueduct. And so that first day at Nassau, when we didn't get off the ship, that was what we did. We waited in a line to ride the aqueduct, and she just squealed and laughed and had a great time.
Awesome. Well, you also mentioned that you had booked Bibbidi-Bobbidi, and then that crossed into Royal Court Royal Tea. How were those experiences?
We did. It was great. I forgot to mention we pre-booked the Palo brunch. And so we had those 3 activities on the same day. And so there was a little anxiety over like, are we going to be able to do it, and how do we do it all? But we sent the girls to the Oceaneer Club. They had a great time. And my wife and I went to Palo for brunch. And it was one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. And the chicken parm was, I think it was the best thing I ate on the entire cruise. Like I've told people that afterward, and they're like, really? Like the chicken parm was like that good?
It's so good.
It's so good.
It really is.
It's so good with the creamy risotto underneath. And there's some kind of magic there to like make the chicken that moist, and have it covered in sauce and cheese, but the breading is still so crispy. Like I don't know what magic they're working in that kitchen, but it was phenomenal. And that's after the eggs Benedict, and we had like all the things, a couple flatbread slices, and yeah, Palo was totally worth it, and a great value. The value you get for the food that you eat, it was so good. And we didn't even stay for dessert because we had to go pick up the girls from the Oceaneer Club so we could get them to their Bibbidi-Bobbidi Boutique appointment. And
oh no, you missed the panna cotta.
We did miss the panna cotta. They did offer to like box it up and like send it with us, but at that point I was already needing to skedaddle to go get the family. But like I said, you can't do it all. So like next time, right? Like next time.
Next time.
So yeah. So we went, picked them up, and took them to the Bibbidi-Bobbidi Boutique, which was just amazing. So we were able to book 2 appointments, not at the same time, but close enough where they just like let us in together, which was really nice because, like I said, we've never done that. The girls have never done that. We kind of all wanted to experience that together. Showed them the apprentice fairy godmothers. Showed like all the choices for the dresses and everything. And this was on our at sea day. So we had already been to Aladdin. And so my youngest loves Aladdin. She loves Jasmine, mainly because of Raja. And so she knew right away she was going to get the Jasmine costume. My oldest, Amelia, she likes to consider all of her options. And so she had a little bit more difficult time deciding. And she ultimately settled on the Belle dress because she had just recently been Belle in a Beauty and the Beast production. And so she was pretty excited about that. I think it was really poofy, she said. And she wasn't quite ready for all the poof, but she did like it. And it was adorable. Cast members were great, talking with the girls and their makeovers. But my wife and I were just sitting there watching them and seeing them talk with the cast members. Both of my girls are in dual language, like Spanish immersion school. And so one of the cast members was from Colombia. And so they chit-chat, and like the cast member thought it was just really great. And the girls asked her about her family, and we like to get to know people and enjoyed that aspect of the experience too. But my wife and I were not ready for the reveal. Like if you've never done it, there's this huge mirror like behind them, and they never turn them around until the very end. And so the whole time they're getting this done, they're in their dress, they're getting their hair done, their nails done, and then they turn them around and then they see themselves in the mirror, like, and it's over. And so it really was this like transformation. And I was taking a video of Amelia, and as she turned, you can see her face just like light up as she turns and like sees the mirror. And she just had like one of the biggest smiles like I've ever seen her have. And so like we walked around the ship for the rest of the day, as Princess Jasmine and Belle. And it was a really, really good time. And so we did that for a little while, walked around because we had about an hour between when Bibbidi-Bobbidi Boutique had finished, the makeover had finished, and then the Royal Court royalty would start. And so we just kind of walked around and took some pictures. Took advantage of the princess dresses. We randomly met Snow White skipping around and humming a little working song. So my youngest like chased her down and wanted to take a picture with her. And then you were talking about the Marvel characters, Christy. We randomly saw Doctor Strange walking around. And so I lost my cool and was like, we need to go see Doctor Strange. And the girls didn't quite understand, but I was like, he's a sorcerer, he's really powerful. And the characters are just so good. Entering the girls' world also. Like they're in their world as the character, but they're so good at entering the girls' world. And like I said, my youngest was in her Princess Jasmine costume. She had the like jewel kind of like around her shoulders, And Dr. Strange like leans down and he's like, this is an interesting relic you have here. There might be some kind of mystical power there. You should come see me in the sanctum and we can explore this together. And like she talked about that the rest of the trip, like, I need to go see Doctor Strange. Like we need to go explore this thing. And so like, yeah, like I said, the characters are so good at making those like really small experiences seem really big. And I loved that. And then finally we had to go, down for our Royal Court royalty. The kind of hostess lady, she comes out into the atrium and like invites everyone. Princess Cinderella would like to welcome, Princesses Eleanor and Amelia to the Royal Court. And then we walk in. And at this point, we had been to dinner in the Royal Court, but we were like a late addition to the earlier seating. And so when we were at dinner there, we were kind of off in one of the side rooms. And so we hadn't really seen the like main dining area. And it was just beautiful. And so we walk in and there's this big, just kind of circular area where all the tables are around and we sit down and then the show starts and the little chef comes out and is telling the story and they introduce each princess and, they sing a song. And you were talking about the trinkets that they get. We were curious because we had done the Royal Court years ago. We were curious like what they would do. And it, when we went in 2019, it was like this like 2.5 foot tall like Cinderella doll. And my oldest was like, I hope that we don't like do that again. Like I would kind of like something else. And so they had different things, of course, because Disney's always updating their stuff and making it new and wanting you to come back, which is awesome. Yeah, they each got their own little things. And it was there that I think I had the second best thing that I ate on the cruise, which was the scone. They called it a scone. It was not like a scone I've ever had in my life. Like it was so sweet and delicious. Like I think the scone was probably the second best thing I ate on the cruise. The character who plays like the chef was like, oh, I have a little surprise for you today. And he goes and then the cast members come out with these trays and there's like 3 or 4 scones and it almost looked like a souffle. Like it was like coming out of the little dish it was in and it was topped with sugar. It was great. I would eat it. I would have eaten like 4 of those things if I could. They were so good. And then we have a picture with the princesses. The girls got a little shawl to go over their princess costumes. They wore that for the rest of the night also. As I think we went to Animator's Palette that night. And so we were sitting there with Crush and crew with Princess Jasmine and Belle for the rest of the night.
So I would consider both of these experiences premium experiences. They are both pretty pricey. Did you feel like you got value out of both of them? And would you do either of them again?
They are pricey for sure. I think my oldest is about to age out of some of that, but if they wanted to, I would do it again just because it was that fun. And we got like another little kind of like private show, like the characters who play the chef and then the hostess in the royal court were also in some of the productions. We were like, oh, I cannot remember her name, but that's the hostess from the royal court. I would totally do it again. The food was good. It was a nice little like respite from some of the other stuff. We got to kind of sit and enjoy that time together. I think I would totally do it again, but it is expensive.
Did they seat you at a table with other people, or were you a party of four?
We were a party of four, and we did sit with another little girl and her mom. And so that was fun too. We got to, like I said earlier, we like to get to know people and meet people and talk with them too. And they had been numerous times to the royal court royalty and talked about how different it is every time and how much they love it. Yeah, I think as long as the girls are into it, I would do it again.
We already talked a little bit about dining, but let's go ahead and turn towards it. Give us some highlights from each of the restaurants and your overall thoughts on rotational dining.
The rotational dining was great. Like I said, we missed out on it in that first sailing in 2019, so I was really looking forward to it. Honestly, I think one of the highlights for me were the staff. They took excellent care of us. They wanted to know like what the girls liked and what they didn't like, and went above and beyond to help make sure they had a good experience. My girls, they love some fancy dining, and so they felt like big girls and really enjoyed it. And they asked our wait staff. Dinaval was great, but our main server was Agnolo. We went to the Enchanted Garden on the first night, and on the kids menu there was like a strip loin steak. And so for the rest of the cruise, the girls were like, "Can we have that? Can we have that steak again that we had like the night before?" And so like every night, whether it was on the kids menu or not, Agnolo and Kim would take care of them and make sure they had a great meal. So the first night we went to Enchanted Garden. I had the halibut, and I love seafood, so I was looking forward to like all the seafood I could eat on this cruise. The halibut was great. It was cooked really well. The pea puree was good. I was not necessarily sure I would call it a puree. It was a little chunky for a puree to me, but it tasted great and went really well with the halibut. The next night we went to the royal court, and I had the rack of lamb there, and it was delicious. Like I would get that again every single time. And then the next night was pirate night. And so we were back at the royal court for that evening, and I had the grouper, and mango salsa that came with the grouper like made that dish. It was delicious. It was fresh. It really went nicely with the grouper. And it was like a potato cake, but it was almost like they had like spun into like fancy, like really thin, like curly fries and like smushed it into make a little cake that everything sat on. And it was salty and, a really nice, that dish was very good on pirate night.
I'm going to have to start checking out the potato options on some of the seafood dishes. Like, I've never thought of this potato or seen this potato dish before.
I'm not usually like I order seafood, but you were talking about that mango puree over the grouper and then the potato thing. I was like, oh man, I was like, I'm really not looking at that pirate menu anymore because that sounds fantastic.
It was very, very tasty. And, also one of the nice things is that like, I'm fine like sharing it and letting the girls like kind of try new things that way. And my oldest is less adventurous eater, but Eleanor, my youngest, she loved it. But yeah, the grouper was fantastic. After that, we went to Animator's Palette, and my family, we were looking forward to that one the most because we had heard about, interacting with Crush and kind of fun that was compared to the other ones feel like a little fancier, I think. And so we were definitely looking forward to like how fun that one would be. Our seat wasn't so close to one of the other like bigger screens where we could like talk with Crush or anything, but we were still close enough we could see and interact. And I love Disney's just great. Like the theming from top to bottom was fantastic. Like each screen is like part of a big aquarium, and so you see like I would see this Bruce, the shark, like swim from a screen, like on the other side of the restaurant. And in like 5 seconds, he was going to like swim around and be around our table. And so that was really fun. But there I had the ginger teriyaki filet with the wasabi potatoes. The potatoes there, I did not think were as good as the potatoes with the grouper, but it was still good. And then we capped it off with the Enchanted Garden on our last night. And with prime rib on the menu, I had to go with the prime rib, as did my girls. And it was delicious. We had a great time. But again, the highlight for us was the staff and getting to know them. My girls we're all very interested in just getting to know people and how big the world is and how awesome it is. And the assistant server, let's see, in like 2.5 weeks, he's gonna, I hope she's not listening, but he's going to propose to his girlfriend in like 2.5 weeks. When that last night, we were like, hope it goes well, Mr. Kim, like, have a really, awesome time, and wish we could like find out like how it goes.
Awesome. What about dining for breakfast and lunch? Where did you find your family grabbing your meals during the day?
Yeah, we kind of did a little bit of all of it. My wife loves breakfast, as does my youngest, and so they took advantage of cabanas a couple more times than we did. We did room service a couple times, which was really nice. On the Lookout Key day, we did room service that day, and got our carbs. I do wish the room service like breakfast menu had a little bit more variety, something other than breads, and the fruit was great. I wish there was a little something extra there on the room service breakfast menu.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
A protein of some sort would be nice.
A protein. That's a good start. Especially like, you're going to spend a day like doing a bunch of stuff. But I understand, it can be difficult to like staff that and do that, but it would be nice to have something additional, like a protein on the room service menu. I don't think any of us went to the like dining room for breakfast. It was either cabanas or room service. The Mickey waffles are a hot item at the cabanas breakfast. We missed out on it that first Nassau day, and so my wife was pretty bummed about that. That's one of her favorite things that Disney does, are the Mickey waffles. Yeah, on one of the days I went up and kind of brought some back from cabanas, and so that was nice. And they had the churros Mickey waffles, and I actually liked that better than the standard like Mickey waffle, which was sacrilege to my wife.
Everybody has to like churro waffles better than regular waffles. They're coated in cinnamon sugar and deep fried. What is not to like?
I totally agree. Mm-hmm. Sacrilege to my wife. So we had a nice laugh about that. But yeah, so for breakfast, it was either room service or cabanas.
And what about lunches?
Lunches, on the islands, of course, we had the island, the true to Q barbecue, whatever they call it on Lookout Key. Cookies.
Well, the other way around, because True to is at Lookout and Keys is okay, but.
Gotcha.
We're there. We have the names.
Yeah, we got there. And then for lunches on the ship, we did some of the quick service stuff. We had like burgers and flows and pizza and, some of that stuff. We did some of the quick service. But I thought the lunches on the islands were great. Which one is it that's Lookout? True. Yeah, True. That one, I thought that was my favorite. They had some jambalaya that was really good. And then I loved Lookout. They definitely did a little bit more of the Bahamian culture all throughout the experience. And so they had pigeon peas and rice, and that was really confusing to my 8 and 10-year-old. And I was like, no, it's just like the name of the foods. Like there's no pigeon, and so that was really good. And then there was a fish at Lookout Key on the menu there. I can't remember what it was, but it was very, very tasty. And we ran into the staff at Castaway Cay as they were serving lunch. And so my girls, they did a great job. They were like, oh, what'd you do? Did you have fun doing all that? Like the staff was just great all over the place and just makes such a difference.
Well, why don't we go ahead and roll with the port stops? You did mention pre-show. You had to stop at Nassau. You did not get off the ship. So we'll go right into both of the private islands. We've got Lookout and Castaway. Which one was first?
Lookout.
So this would be your first stop to Lookout. What were your expectations for Disney's newest private island?
Expectations were beautiful beach, long walk. Both of those things existed. And the room service breakfast was actually kind of nice for that because we had talked, we watched like Disney and National Geographic did like a show about Lookout Key. And so we watched that and we set some expectations for the girls. We're going to have a little walk, but it wasn't that bad. I didn't think it was that bad. Where our room was, I forget which side of the ship we were on. Our room overlooked the pier. And so like we opened up our curtains and like bam, there was the pier. And I don't think it really like distracted from the view. It made for a really nice picture. I took this like really long kind of panoramic like across the whole thing and it made for a really nice picture. But yeah, the walk wasn't that bad. They had like a photo stop like halfway through, and so we took like a picture there and stopped and got a little sip of water, and that was really fun. And then the tram ride from where you finish your walk on the pier, and they have like a little shop or some water and some stuff. You can grab some towels before you get to the tram. The tram ride was, I think the one thing about Lookout that seemed not very Disney, which was there were some crabs that had seen better days on the side of the road as we were riding the tram.
Yeah, somebody else was just talking about this. Like, apparently the crabs must be doing some sort of crazy migrating situation because they are all over the road.
It was a little shocking because like you're along this road that Disney had worked on, like at some places along the road there are like these like walls basically. So these are some really brave and strong crabs. Meanwhile, you're listening to what Lizzie and Shelley like talk about the island, and some of the adults were like, well, there goes Shelley. And it's but that seemed like not very Disney to me to, either,
it's nature though. What are they going to do? Right? Like they haven't had the island during this season before, have they? Because this last summer was the first year. So they aren't used to what this migration is like.
I think Disney will figure it out. Like they know, like, yeah, if they can, I think they'll figure it out. Because with the pier, I think we were talking to our girls about that too. Like Disney had to build this, but they're also like seeding coral along that and trying to like do right by the island, which we really like. And so I think if there is a solution there, I think Disney will figure it out.
What did you guys think of the islands? Like, did you rank them? What did you get up to when you're on the islands?
Oh, man, the islands were great. Just being able to like totally unplug was really nice for us. My wife and I both joked that like when we get back to the States, our phones are going to have to go back to being phones and not just cameras, because like the whole time we were just using our phones for cameras. I think I like Castaway better. Yeah, I think I like Castaway better primarily because of the snorkeling. Like I went snorkeling on Lookout Key, but my girls are pretty good swimmers, but wasn't ready for them to swim in, what's basically like open ocean at Lookout Key. I think I like Castaway better, but I think Lookout is more beautiful. The sand was just like, I have a hard time describing it. Like it was just, the beach was just beautiful. We did the Junkanoo celebration at Lookout, which was really fun. Like Mickey and Minnie came out with the Junkanoo band and we danced around and had a good time. The shops were nice. We had heard that like if you don't get to the lunch, at a certain time, like you might be waiting a while or anything. But we did not have like that experience. Like we like walked right up, and we did get off the ship a little late because we did, our room service breakfast. We kind of took our time. We weren't like first off the ship or anything at Lookout. And so we did have to, once we got to the beach, we did have to walk a little ways to find a couple of chairs, but even, not a long walk. Like it wasn't that bad. But on the island at Lookout, we mainly played in the ocean. The girls were very excited to see that, clear Caribbean water, and they were just amazed at how awesome it was. We live in North Carolina, and our beaches and waves can be a little rough, and they've experienced that, and so they were really excited to be able to like really play in the water and have a good time. I don't know, they probably have a name for it. The like splash pad at Lookout was really great. The girls loved the splash pad. I snorkeled for a while and happened to swim across a ray. And so that was really fun for me to kind of swim around and swim a little bit with the ray. When I went and dropped off the snorkeling gear, they asked if I saw any wildlife or anything. And apparently at that season, that wildlife was like just starting to come back, and it had been infrequent that they had seen some of that at Lookout. And so that was really neat to see the ray. But we mostly just like played around and enjoyed the beach at Lookout and just had a great time, just like playing in the sand and, having fun.
Well, luckily you get not one stop at Private Islands, but two. So let's move on to Castaway. I believe this would be your second time to Castaway then, right?
Correct.
What were you looking forward to getting up to there?
The snorkeling. It was really fun. The girls were feeling adventurous. We had told them they might not be ready for snorkeling at Lookout because of the water, but at Castaway, they were very much looking forward to that kind of calm lagoon that's there. And we had to go find Prince Eric. The Prince Eric statue was like top of the list. So that was one of the first things we did. Was we didn't pre-book the snorkeling gear or anything, so we had to go like do that, which it was super easy. We just walked over and got the gear. Once we got everybody fitted, and it did like a little lesson in the kind of shallow part to get them used to it. We went straight out and snorkeled around for probably close to an hour, which with the vest and everything, and they're pretty good swimmers. We were able to do and had a really good time there. Also, we did that kind of early because we knew we'd have the girls would have the most energy and be able to do it. And so we were able to do that. And then the first time, they were smaller. And so they really wanted to go check out Pelican Plunge. And we did. We went and checked out Pelican Plunge, and that was really fun. It's a little smaller than I had in my head. It is 2 slides. Like it's not, I don't really know what I was expecting, but it was like for some reason, it was a little smaller than I expected. But we had to wait like a little bit because there was a long line, but it kept moving. And there are, Disney's good with their queues. There's always something for them to do or something for them to look at. They had these little, like water guns for them to like shoot off the side at little things Disney had put off the side of Pelican Plunge. And then, we went down the slides and had a good time. And then by that time, it was close to time for lunch. And so we walked over to that little, I forget the name of the little bar over there by Pelican Plunge that like surfs up or surfs.
Heads Up Bar?
Heads Up, that's it. Heads Up Bar. Walked over there and it had like just this nice little photo op. Like it's kind of out in between Pelican Plunge and the lagoon side where the snorkeling is. And so we took a really nice picture that we love with the ship in the background, and it had a nice frozen beverage there. And then by that time it was time to go over for lunch. I don't know if it's another migration was happening when we went in 2019, or if Disney had just figured out what to do with some of the birds around the lunch area. But we did not experience the seagull attacks like we did in 2019. And so the lunch was great. My wife went and did 5K. She wanted to go do that and get her medal and look at the lighthouse. And she had a really good time doing that. We remembered how tasty the frozen beverages were at they have the frozen with Olaf and Spin. And we remembered how tasty those were. So we all went and got one of those. It was really good. It was like the heat of the day definitely cooled us down. We got this nice little souvenir to take home, as difficult as that what the reindeer is to pack. We got that, and it's in our cabinet right now. And then we had the dance party. We did the dance party with, who was it that day? It was Donald and Goofy. I think we had a little dance party after lunch, and the girls got into conga line, and we had a good time just dancing and being silly. We didn't do, like I said, the cabana didn't work out. I think we would have really enjoyed that, I think. But we just played on the beach and had a lot of fun. Another thing that happened there that was very memorable was, I mentioned earlier that we definitely enjoy the photo opportunities with the staff and everything. We took a couple of photo ops as we walked to the beach from the ship. We were not early enough to meet Captain Jack, but we did take a couple of photo ops. And at this point in the cruise, we had seen, some of the photographers, a couple of times, and we saw Channing again, and our girls remembered him, and we're like, "Hey, Mr. Channing, come take our picture. We want And so we had this really nice little photo shoot on the beach at Castaway Cay. And some of those are, we weren't expecting, Disney does the magic shot, right? And we had done them on the ship and at different times. I wasn't expecting them there on the beach. Like he just kind of told us like, look here, splash around a little bit. And so that was a really nice surprise when we got back and looked at our app and saw the pictures, and we were like splashing around with Chip and Dale at our feet. And then another one, Donald was driving a boat and like Goofy's behind us being all silly on his water skis. And so that was really nice. And then at the last night, there was a photo of Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Daisy, and Pluto on the ship, like in a nice little folder, like from him. And like that was a really nice kind of moment that kind of encapsulated the whole time we had. That little photo shoot on the beach at Castaway were some of my favorite memories from this trip.
Love it. Well, sadly, all cruises have to come to the end. What was your disembarkation process like?
So originally we had planned to take the Disney transportation back to MCO, to the airport, but about a week or so out, we realized our flight wasn't until like 7 p.m. and we didn't want to spend 7+ hours at the airport. And so we ended up renting a car, the car rental place at the terminal, and then made a reservation at 1900 Park Fair at the Grand Floridian. It was like one of the latest brunch reservations it was like 11:45 or something like that. And so we rented a car. The car rental place has a little van or shuttle that will take you like from the ship to their terminal. And one word of caution, if you do that, make sure that you rent at that terminal and not one of the other car rental locations that's like nearby. The group in front of me was at the wrong place and had.
All right. Well, I have just a couple more questions. So you mentioned taking advantage of a lot of the photo shoots and that you had booked the photo package. Did you feel like that ended up working out for you?
Oh, totally. I was just before the last couple of days, like I said, where my whole family was kind of excited that we were doing this. It was such a great trip. We wanted to keep talking about it. So the last couple of days I've been looking at all of our pictures, and it's to us, it's a really good value. We don't have to worry about, having our phones out all the time, and the photographers, they take really good photos and interact with the characters. Like I love telling Donald he's number one. And, we had our little photo shoot with Daisy. We had our little opportunity with Donald at our meet and greet. And I asked him where Daisy was. And he does this number. And so I was like, oh, you listeners, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm putting my hands behind my head and like acting like I'm sunning. And so he was telling me like Daisy was up on the deck getting some sun. And so those fun little moments, like it's just fun to like play with them, right? And we tell our girls like it's fun they want to play with you and have a good time. And so later we also met Thor a second time. He was just like walking around. And so we also met Thor a second time. And this time he noticed that my daughter Eleanor, our youngest, has green eyes. And so he said, are you Loki? Like, you have green eyes. You might be Loki. And she was like, no, I'm not Loki. And he was like, well, that would be something Loki would say. He's a trickster. Like, are you sure you're not? And so like the rest of the cruise, we kind of teased her a little bit and we're like, are you being Loki right now? Like, we need to find Loki. And so those moments were just really fun. Like, we have a good time with that. It's a nice thing that Disney provides to capture those memories.
Love it. Well, you did a pretty good job mentioning some cast interactions already. Were there any other cast members that you wanted to highlight?
I mentioned a couple people on the wait staff with the rotational dining, but I forget the name. He wasn't our waiter, but he was like the
head server.
The head server. His name was Denival. Our girls, I try to raise them to enjoy a good steak, and our preference is to have it medium rare. Everybody has their own preference. Her, on one of the nights, like, her steak wasn't cooked to how she liked it. And she thought, and she's at that age where she doesn't want to like upset people, but she also is learning like how to navigate that. And I was like, Eleanor, they want to make sure you're having a good time. They're not going to be upset. You just need to tell them and we'll see what happens. And so he came over. Denival, the head server, was coming over to help her with her steak, to help cut it, which was another nice thing he was doing to keep me from having to do that 5 nights in a row. And he was so attentive that he could see something wasn't quite right. And she was a little hesitant. And I was like, just tell him what you want. Just be nice and tell him. And so she told him that she would it was overdone. And he was like, oh, let me fix that like right away. And then like 2 minutes later, I don't know where he ran on that ship, but he had to have run to like get another piece of steak for her. He went over and above for that. Like, it was great.
Love it. Well, Adam, what is next for you and your family?
Really good question. Like, I think the sign of a good vacation is like you don't want it to end and you're a little sad that it might end. Both of my girls cried on the last night because they didn't want it to end. And so we did, like, in the Navigator app, they can offer you, like, I forget what it is. It's like a 10% discount on like future sailing or reduced deposit or something like that. So we don't know when, but it's coming. When we got back home, both of them were wondering when we were going to go again. And Eleanor, my youngest, she said, is it going to be in like 2 months? We were like, no, it's not going to be in 2 months. What about 3 months? Is it going to be in 3 months? No, it's not going to be 3 months. But so we don't know, but there will be more on the horizon for sure.
Love it. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on and sharing you and your family's sailing on the Disney Fantasy.
Yeah, thank you. Great time.
Absolutely. Thanks again for filling out the form, but that is going to wrap up our show. You can follow Christy at Pack Your Pixie Dust, and you can utilize her travel services by hitting the Book with Christy link right down below. You can follow myself at MouseGen on Instagram and YouTube, and you can follow the podcast at DCL Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. But that is going to wrap up our show. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up our show. Once again, we want to thank Adam for coming on and sharing his family sailing on the Disney Fantasy. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailings and safe travels. And we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is unaffiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney